So today we're doing lesson 4.16, and we've basically learned how to multiply fractions. Like if I give you two fractions, do you feel like you could multiply them together? Yeah. If the numbers are small enough, do you feel like you could draw a rectangular fraction model? Yeah, but if the numbers are big, do you feel like you could at least multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators and maybe even cross-cancel out some factors first? Yeah, so we understand how to do the math. Now, the reason why word problems are here to stay is because let's think about math in real life. When people come and have to do math in real life, is it because they're, hiking on the road and then they see a math problem on the ground and they have to solve it?
No.
No. Math in real life always happens in a word problem scenario. Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm saying? And so the reason why we need to practice solving word problems is because that's actually how math is used in real life. A word problem is just a real life scenario that has math in it, right? So today your learning goal is to be able to use tape diagrams to help you solve word problems involving fraction multiplication. Okay, so we're going to use tape diagrams over and over today, not because I really like drawing rectangles, but because it really helps us to solve these word problems that can seem kind of tricky. Okay, so let's look at the problem of the day. It's talking about Jerry icing cupcakes. Now Jerry is about to do some math, but it's not because his teacher gave him a worksheet to do. He has a real life problem, and that's what a word problem is. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So number 1 says, Mrs. Anusko made 60 cookies for a bake sale. She sold 2/3 of them and gave 3/4 of the remaining to the students working at the sale. How many cookies did she have left? So first, we always need to ask ourselves, what is the question asking? Arun?
How many cookies did she have left?
So we're trying to figure out how many cookies Mrs. Anusko had left after she sold some and then also gave some away to the students who were working. Isn't that nice that she gave it to the students who were working? Yeah. What important information do we need in order to figure out how many cookies she had left? Arhan?
She has 60 cookies. She made 60 cookies for the bake sale.
Mm-hmm.
She sold 2/3 of them and gave 3/4 of the remaining cookies to the students.
Nice. So she's had 60 to begin with. She sold 2/3 of them and then gave 3/4 of the remaining. Ooh, ding, 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 of the remaining. So when you see those words, how many tape diagrams are you going to need to draw? Two. Let's start with the first one, though. Okay, so first we'll draw one piece of tape that represents all of the cookies she sold, or she had, which was 60 cookies. Now, how many did she sell? 2/3. So she sold 2/3. We need to divide that 60 into how many equal sections? 3. And then we'll shade in 2/3 of them. And we'll label that 2/3. That's how much she sold, right? Right? Okay. Now, so how much does she have left? 1/3. Okay. And then that 1/3, here's my second piece of tape. Did she give that whole third away to the students? She gave away how much? 3/4. So we need to divide that 1/3 into how many equal sections? Okay, let's do that. Good. And then she gave away 3/4 of those to the students, and so she has how much left? 1/3. So she has 1/3 of the 1/3 of the 60. Do you see that? So we need to figure out, we don't know, 1/4, sorry. So we don't know how much she has here. So how can I figure out how much she had left after she sold some? Junbuk?
First, we need to figure out how much 1/3 is.
1/3 of what?
1/3 of 60.
Yeah. So once we figure out how much 1/3 of 60 is, will we know how much goes in this question mark right here? Okay. So 1/3 of 60 is the same as 1/3 times 60, which is the same thing as 60 over 3, which is? 20 cookies. So that means after the bake sale, she had 20 cookies left. But she gave 3/4 of those 20 away, didn't she? And so she had, how much did she have left? 1/4 of 20, right? So 1/4 of 20 is the same as 1/4 times 20, which is the same as 5. And what's our label? Good. Is it 5? I guess 5 of the cookies works, but you can also just write 5 cookies. So, the Booster Club sells 240 cheeseburgers. 1/4 of those cheeseburgers had pickles, and then 1/2 of the remaining burgers had onions, and then the rest had tomatoes. How many cheeseburgers had tomatoes? Let's underline what the question is asking, which is? Good. And now let's circle the important information. Altogether, there's 240 cheeseburgers. 1/4 of them have pickles. And then, 1/2 of the remaining had onions. And the rest had tomatoes. So right away, when I see those of the remaining, I know that I'm in for it to draw 2 table diagrams. Good. Let's draw the first one first, obviously. This will be all the cheeseburgers, which is how many? 240. Now we need to divide that 240 into how many equal units? 4, because 1/4 of them had pickles, which means 3/4 didn't. Not that many people like pickles. So let's go ahead and divide it into 4 equal parts, and we know that this part has pickles, which is 1/4, and then I'll write P for pickles, and the rest are no pickles, NP, NP, NP. And what fraction of the cheeseburgers did not have pickles?
3/4.
3/4, because I can see there that there's 3/4. So if I want to find how many actually didn't have pickles, I can do 3/4 of what? 240, which is the same as 3/4 times 240. Now, this would be a good time to do some cross canceling, huh? Or 200, so this is the same as 3 times 240 over 4. Is 240 divisible by 4? Yeah, what is 240 divided by 4? 60. And then therefore, my new problem is 3 times 60 over 1, which is 180 cheeseburgers, right? And then of those 180 cheeseburgers, that's how many didn't have pickles. So let's draw our second tape diagram now. It's just going to draw the part that doesn't have pickles. And altogether, how many cheeseburgers is that?
180.
180. Now, half of those have onions, and the rest have tomatoes. So if half of them have onions, how many equal sections do I have to divide the second tape diagram into? 2. Very good. And this part is onions, which is 1/2. And this part is tomatoes. If half of them have onions and the rest have tomatoes, what fraction has tomatoes? 1/2. So if we're trying to figure out how many have tomatoes, we need to find 1/2 of what number? 180, which is the same as 180 over 2, which is 90. Good. And so what label do we need to give to actually answer the question? Every time I get to the number, I always go back and look at the question. So my answer is 90, but the question is, how many cheeseburgers had tomatoes? So it's 90. Good. And yeah, if you want to write the whole sentence, you can write 90 cheeseburgers had tomatoes, or you could just write 90 cheeseburgers. That's okay with me too.